Greetings and welcome to a beautiful sunny Tokyo day on the Sumida River. This direction takes you to Monzen Nakacho, and I was watching the news just a few days ago when I saw this topic come up. It was actually in Soda News as well. I put a link in the description to explain it in English, and I've also put a link into some of the other assets that I'll talk about in this episode. But you know, going back about 3 months ago, I saw this dual pricing discussion come in to the debate on Japanese news. It's a two-tier system where foreigners, foreign visitors coming to Japan would pay a separate price than Japanese local residents. They would pay a cheaper price. How this system would be enacted, would it even work? They're debating it, and sometimes these things that are debated become reality. I don't think this is going to happen, but I think it's good that you know about what's happening here in Japan, and that's maybe why some of you might be subscribed to this channel. Thank you, and let's get right into it here. I'm going to start off with this really quickly. I'm going to put this on the right side. It all boiled up around the beginning of March when the governor of Osaka discussed possibly initiating a foreign tourist taxing. And right now we have an over-tourism problem. I'll talk a lot about that in this episode as well. But the thing was, well, tourists are coming in so much, the city of Osaka needs more resources in order to set up services in English and other languages for these tourists coming in. Thus, the taxes is warranted, and they're debating it. It's not something that I don't believe is initiated, but some hotels in some cities do have some taxes, but I don't believe there's anything national except perhaps at the airport, which is, you know, taxes on a lot of stuff at the airport. And that's not just Japan. It's like a lot of countries have these kinds of taxes at the airport. All right. Sorry, we're just getting some, what's going on here? Sorry, we're getting some crashing here with too many images on here. All right, this is the most interesting part of this whole conversation. The poll that this Fuji TV show took, I think they said, what is it, 23,000 respondents on if there should be a two-tier pricing system for foreign tourists and locals. 65% said that if they had it, it's okay. 30% said it's better not to have it, and 5% said, yeah, we don't really know. We'd be happy either way. But having 65% of the respondents say that a local and a foreign tourist double pricing system is somewhat concerning to me and to you, and probably to those 35% that are like, what? So I want to just discuss. I don't think it's going to happen though. So I kind of watched this, and I put a link in the description that lays out from Soda News. They do a great job of bringing some more unusual news to you. It's always captivating. Basically, this is a panel of 3 local leaders. One is a politician, one is like a lawyer, and the other one is a business leader, I believe. And the one thing that they discussed was the two-tier system would be decided by Japanese having a My Number card, which is like a social security card. So you would have to carry your My Number card with you, which I don't like to do. This is like the card that unlocks everything. All of your financial information, all of your resources, all the things that you can get at City Hall, your signature, your Hanko certification, everything you can get with this My Number card. Go to a convenience store, touch it, and you can print out official documents and stuff. I don't want to carry this in my wallet, all right? So he said, well, carry this card with you, and wherever you go, you can get discounts and reward people for getting this My Number card so that they can take advantage of it as a Japanese citizen. So raise the prices, but locals will get a discount based on their card. In your locality, perhaps local regions would be priced more. I don't know how the system works. That was like one idea. Then the local governor from Kanagawa, I believe is who it is, came in and said, look, the way I see this is that in Japan, foreign tourists that are coming here are our guests. And you can't start initiating a two-tier pricing system because it doesn't make a lot of sense to do that. What are you going to use the money on? There's a lot of debate on this. Usually when you get extra tax dollars, it doesn't actually go into putting the money where it's supposed to go. I see a lot of waste in Japan. I see a lot more waste in a lot of other countries as well, Canada. But I'm just saying, in Japan, if you give the government more money, usually they don't, well, Japan might do a better job than other countries, but it's still, a lot of it just gets wasted. I don't think the tourists really need to have all of these extra services, although perhaps that they do. It's a really sunny day. Sorry for the blue glasses here. Now, the debate went on and on. Again, a lot of people are in favor of this dual pricing system. I don't know how it works, but for me, I'm very much against this, of course, because I don't see Japan as a, I don't know, like a third world or developing country. This is a developed country, one of the biggest economies in the world, the fourth biggest. I think India passing Japan recently. If we look at this, and I put the link in the description for this, this site here. This site here. They talk about this two-price system here, and it's really interesting to see if it's fair for tourists or not. But in this article, and again, it's called the restlessbeans.com. It's well written and documented. What are some of the reasons why you would have this? Government-run sites, national parks, and things like this. So entrances to parks, museums, and whatnot, locals would have a discount. I think that's not a bad thing. We're paying taxes for this. Maybe Japanese should get a discount to go to some places. I don't know. Locally, I think that we already kind of do. During the era a couple of years ago, we used to get tax incentives to go, or bonuses to go to certain hotels and visit locals if we got, you know, vaccinated, and they had all sorts of bonuses and perks. Go to travel campaign, for example, where Japanese were paid to go and leave their house and travel. So they've done these kinds of things where foreign tourists could not take advantage of it, but there weren't any tourists there at the time. Locally run businesses such as restaurants, unregulated taxis, markets, you really don't want to go down there, I don't think. Are you going to charge a tourist more for takoyaki than a local? Oh, you have a local card, so you're going to pay 300 yen for this, and tourists are going to pay 500. I don't see that, not in Japan. Pre-departure taxes for tourists and destinations, I see that as a possibility. But they're talking in the terms of like Cambodia and Thailand and certain countries where there really is like two economies. There's the tourists coming in, and then there are the people who are. So I'm going to run down this graph here. This is really interesting. They showed the example of prices for something like the Taj Mahal in India. Local people pay 40 cents to enter, and foreign tourists pay $14 to enter. This is going back to 2013. I'm pretty sure that the prices are higher now, but it's a 3,500% difference. I remember going to the Taj Mahal, and I paid like, I think it was like 20 bucks. I know it was a lot more than $14. But I knew that locals paid very little, and that's so anybody can go in there, and that makes a lot of sense. It's just, especially 10 years ago, the income disparity was quite large. In Kenya, in Peru, Machu Picchu, local people $25, foreign tourists $49. This is, again, 10 years ago's prices. You see some Ecuador, the Galapagos National Park. I had to pay this foreign tax when I went there in when was it, 2004? I remember I had to pay a tax to go to the Galapagos. I think if you went into Chile to Easter Island, I believe there was a foreigner tax as well. So there's certain places that seems to make a lot of sense. But local people, yeah, they shouldn't have to pay that much, perhaps. Again, this is a different economy. But the debate was really interesting. Let me see if I could pull up the quote, because I thought that this is something we should get right. Again, this comes from Sora News, and a shout out to them. They're really great. So the first, hold on a second. The first one here is I'm going to pull this up here. I'm strongly against this idea. Foreign travelers are, from the perspective of Japan and its people, our guests. We have been saying for a long time, please come visit. And now that they are here, you want to say, oh, hey, and we're going to take some extra cash from you guys. It's like collecting a fine from them for coming to Japan. I'm strongly against splitting pricing policies like that. And this is coming from a local politician here in Japan. So there are cooler heads in this debate. So don't let's not jump to conclusions and get a little bent out of shape that the fact that this conversation, I know, because I know some of you are probably thinking. Some people get triggered pretty quickly. And then they talked about, well, foreigners don't pay taxes here, and we're paying taxes for these things that they're enjoying. And he rebuts, but Japanese people also receive many benefits from those things. And the situation with foreign tourists is the same as when Japanese people travel domestically to someplace other than where they live. If someone comes to Kanagawa, Kamakura from another prefecture, they're not paying taxes to Kamakura, but we still allow them to make use of city services. So, you know, the arguments are there, and I don't know. I guess it's because right now the yen is so weak. The yen is so weak. I think it's 155 to the dollar right now. Let me pull this up here. Yeah, it's 155.78 to the dollar. It got up as high as 160. It used to be 108 to the dollar, so it's lost like 30% of its value, which is purchasing power to bring those things into Japan, like ingredients for cooking, for a lot of things, which drives up the food prices. Local income has really stayed pretty flat. It's not going up that much. So things are going up and Japanese can't afford it. It's not exclusive to Japan though, because prices are pretty expensive in places like Canada, and we're seeing the political climate there is pretty interesting. Yeah, so I want to discuss it. I've been watching Canadian politics a little bit too much. But things are pretty expensive in Canada, so it's not just Canada that's suffering, but now we have a tourism boom. And the catalyst to all of this is not the fact that the yen is so weak. It's not the fact that there's so many tourists coming in and it's very expensive for Japanese to travel abroad, because we all know that when we go to the US, we don't have a dual pricing system when we go to the United States. But I know that when I go to the US right now, I am paying a lot more for a hotel and for dinner than I did 4 years ago. Oh, why does it keep freezing here? So I'm talking about this. I was here about 10 days ago. There's a live stream you guys can go check out on the channel. I do hope you take a look at it. Just a note on that live stream. After the Mount Fuji was blocked over that Lawson's. After Mount Fuji showed itself about an hour later, it was a different feeling. There were more people that came. They were like rabid dogs. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but there were a lot more people, and they were just going to get that shot no matter what, crossing the street with cars coming. Like, there's no traffic light right there, crossing back and forth to where these people are doing construction. Again, the construction crew was at lunch between 12 and 1. It was chaos. There was one security guard who couldn't speak English, and he constantly gave up because he couldn't get people to move, because they were like on some sort of drug. They had to get that picture, no matter what the rules were. And it's that kind of like their wide eyes, like, oh, I gotta get the shot kind of a thing. And for what? It's something that's on Instagram that everybody gets, and we're seeing this behavior, and it's not just here. It's not just this picture, all right? Sorry, there's sort of a delay with the app here. I'm gonna just keep on talking. It seems like the app is crashing, but then it comes back on. All right, we should be back. Sorry, the app seems to be crashing a little bit. I don't have any more assets to show you right now. Assets, guides, things to highlight this, but it's more of a discussion. And I want you all to sound off on this in the comments below or in the live chat, and I'll take a look at some of it right now. It's called a sense of entitlement, and it's everywhere. Yeah, you know, I think that this is going to be something that is going to be talked about in Japan, and whether or not they do it, I don't know. But it's going to be here for the next year. Until fall of 2025, they're going to be talking about it, I guarantee you, a dual pricing system. And after the World Expo finishes in Osaka, either they're going to have done it or they're not going to do it. They're going to make up the decision before that, and it's going to be Kansai that sort of does this. It's going to be Kyoto and Osaka and not Tokyo, because I think there are more sound minds here. They would never do that. Yeah. But Kansai, maybe, because they're merchants. Their history is more about, you know, so I think that might be where we go with that. And this is the capital of Japan, and this is, we compare ourselves to other local world cities. We don't want to be, you know, down there, go down that road. But it would be a disaster. It would be, quite frankly, it would be a disaster. I don't want to have to prove that I'm a local. People don't even think I'm a local. I loved going yesterday to Takayama, and I loved going to Shirakawa-go. Those live streams are on this channel. 2 places in the countryside in Japan that you really should consider going to, where you get to feel Japan's soul out there in a place like this. But there are a lot of foreign tourists right there, and everybody, I speak Japanese. Yeah, I'm conversational. So I'm buying stuff, I speak it, I order things, and then they respond to me in this broken English, which kind of upsets me. Like, I'm speaking your language, dude. I know I said it right. All I did was order something, and then I speak Japanese again, and they come back to me in broken English, and I ask them, do you speak Japanese? And then they're surprised, like they didn't hear me the first time. This didn't happen once. This has happened multiple times. So the tourism stuff, that no one's ever going to see me as a local resident. I'm not a local Japanese. I'm a local resident of Japan who can, speak a little Japanese, and I like to, speak the language here. But I'll never feel like that. The point is, I got to take a card and now prove that I'm a local to get local prices, and I live here for 26 years. I just don't think that that's kind of, no one's going to believe me. Are they? They're probably just going to charge me anyways. I'm going to have to take my wife with me, who is Japanese, to really rip them apart. I don't know. Or what Leo's going to do. He's half Japanese. It's already hard. People judge you based on your physical appearance all the time. So I think that when I watched that TV show on Fuji TV, and again, let me see if I have the, I said I wouldn't bring up any more assets here. I have a screenshot. And that doesn't take up a lot of space here. So it says here 65% of people are in favor of it. So when we have this, and then you have a local politician who is here. One second. I don't know, the app's sort of crashing a little bit. I think that this is going to be something that is, yeah, well, this is where sound minds will prevail in the end, and they're not going to do it, but you never know. And the fact that it's still being discussed for 3 months is a little bit worrying. I think everything's going to be okay. I think everything's going to be okay. But again, I think this is the kind of a situation where your voice probably could be a catalyst in figuring out this over-tourism stuff. While I was in Fukui, and in Gifu, we stayed at a hotel in Shirakawa-go, and we saw the local news. And Gifu Prefecture hired consultants to help them with over-tourism so that they avoid the kind of situations that are in Kawaguchiko, and as well as like the Mount Fuji area with Instagram and photos and safety for tourists. So they're trying to get ahead of this. Shirakawa-go is one of those really successful places that has brought in a lot of tourists to the countryside, and they're raking the benefits of it. Again, the locals seem pretty well off. I saw some pretty nice cars behind some barns over there. But I think that it's important that these kinds of places stay ahead of it. And the thing that would destroy Shirakawa-go and Takayama, and I think it's something that I think destroyed Takayama a little bit for me. Again, it didn't destroy it completely, but it's something where I can see them losing the grip on. When a town or a city loses its authenticity, and it doesn't feel like a big tourist destination anymore, it doesn't have that same feeling to it, that all of these people came, and they came here to get what they saw in a video or an image or something, or a documentary, and they go there like Jiro's Sushi, and you don't get that experience. You get something else. Then you have people that are really angry about that, and then you have more issues. And I think that's going to be something that happens with a lot of these tourist destinations in Japan. So mark those words. Because of the success that a lot of these places are having, they are going to fight holding on to that authenticity that made them popular in the first place. A lot of YouTubers grapple with this when they get popular. A lot of stars, celebrities, become famous, and you change as a person. You change your core. It's just human nature, perhaps. And I think that this is something that's going to be battled within the Japanese cities here. Popular places like Shirakawa-go are going to struggle with that authenticity, which is right now. How do you feel like you had the same experience 20 years ago as you do now? Because I walk around there and I see a lot of, I'm just gonna say it plainly, I see a lot of white faces. I see a lot of faces that look like mine from other countries. I see a lot of faces from India, Thailand, from neighboring countries. I don't see a lot of Japanese faces. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But it makes you start to feel that, is this really Japan anymore? You need to have locals in a local area to make it feel like an authentic local place. And I see that slipping away in a lot of areas. Nothing wrong with that. It's a sign of the success of that local area. I said this yesterday, but it just kind of makes me feel that they could be losing their grip on authenticity, and that's what makes that such a special place. And this is probably why they're going to lose that UNESCO World Heritage. And to be frank, I don't think a lot of people really give a darn about that. They just want to have that authentic experience. There, I said it. Authenticity is what it's all about. You know how I know that? Because if you're a fake person on YouTube, you'll never get people to follow you, believe in you, subscribe to the channel, spend their time to be around with you, because they want to watch somebody who is, I don't know, real. Like somebody who you could see hanging out with, somebody that you could talk to openly, somebody that you could have a beer with. I think that that's what you're looking for in a town or a place or in anything that you are in your life. If it feels fake, it's fake, whether or not it is or not. That's the way it feels, and that's the way you feel. And I think that I see this now with a lot of cities that are becoming popular. They're losing authenticity, and a lot of cities that want to grab that absolutely can. I think that what's going to happen, maybe, and this is interesting, I think that you get to the top. Nobody stays at the top forever. And then new cities, new towns, new places that nobody has discovered yet, or they have discovered but has potential and they harness it, is going to come up. And places like Shirakawa-go might start to decline a little bit. And other places are going to come up. Or tourists just keep coming in and they don't really care. And more tourists, 30, 40, 50, 60 million people are coming, and they're just going to spread it really wide. And then everybody's going to, the tide rises and all the boats are going to float, and that's what's going to happen. I can't see what happens to Japan after 2025, because I can't see what happens with the world economy after 2025, and I can't imagine a two-tiered system in the fourth biggest economy. And I can believe that some Japanese that never leave Japan can feel that there's a two-tier system, but the vast majority of Japanese here make way more money than the majority of the people in the world, and we should be quite happy about that. I think if you're making, what was it, like $30,000 or $40,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of all the earners worldwide, considering that there's 8 billion people on the world, so there's not a lot to complain about. People are going to be richer than you. It's always going to be the case. You can't have a two-tier system. You're just going to have to raise the prices. And if you are a tourist restaurant, and we're seeing this already, if you're a tourist restaurant and you cater to tourists, you're probably going to have tourist prices, and you're going to have an English menu, and you're going to give them services that they want, because that's what you do at a tourist restaurant. A local place, probably going to feel like a local place, but tourists are going to want to go to that place anyways, but you can't raise the price. But it depends on who are your clients, who are your customers. If they're mostly tourists, probably the prices are going to go up. But if you raise them too much and gouge that, they're going to go over to the local places. That's what happens in Thailand. Let's be honest, right? Who has been here to Thailand? Who's been to Thailand? I find everybody wants to go to the authentic local place that charges like 50 baht, 25 baht, you know, like really cheap prices. And then you go to a tourist place and they're charging, 1,000 baht for the same thing. But the food's better at the local place. But then all the tourists go to the local places and they start to raise the prices because of demand, and the locals get squeezed out of that market, and then a new place that comes around. But for the business owner, they're starting to make a lot more money, and it's all, we have to think about them too. We want the business owners to be prosperous because that's good for the economy, and then spreads the money wider and it goes back into the system. Look, it's really hard because what you want is authenticity. And what I want is for the prices to stay the same. But what Japan wants is prosperity for its people. And they don't see this yet. But I can see it, and I think you can too. So leave a comment, sort of like a catch-22. So leave a comment down below, and I would love to hear from you. And I will be scouting this, reading it, and I might make a follow-up episode on this because I think it's fascinating stuff. Everything is changing right now. We have, after that era, and I'm very excited about this, you can see, cost of living is going up all over the world. Except if in places like Canada, it doesn't have to be. In a amazingly resourceful place like Canada, it doesn't have to be. And if you're following the politics of Canada, I think that everybody in the United States should be following what's happening with the Liberals and the NDP in Canada and how unpopular they are on a carbon tax in a country with not a huge population that is contributing very little to something that might be a pseudoscience. We really don't even know what is happening. There's a lot of stuff going on in there. Greed, there's so much stuff going on in there. The government taking the money and then doing what with it? It's all being wasted. Canada's a great example, and we're gonna see a lot. For me, it's sort of maybe the litmus test of the next 5 years. And then there are countries that are turning it around, like Argentina. Follow what they've been doing in the last 6 months, right? It's pretty crazy. So I don't think that everything is doom and gloom, but I don't know if Japan has the answers yet, because I don't know if they're looking at the right models. I don't know if they understand. They're going to find an answer for them. It's not going to come from me as a foreign tourist living here. I maybe can give an impression, but the answers are going to come from them. So they have to find that model that works for them. And I live here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay here. If I got to pay a two-tier system, so be it. I'll have my residence card, my number, my whatever. I'll do what I have to do. I'll complain a little bit and I'll eat it up because that's what we do here. I'm just saying. I would certainly dread seeing that. I think it would keep the numbers down. I think it would hurt the economy. I think people would rather go to Thailand than come here. Weather's nicer, food's pretty good too. And I'm just turning the camera around because I'm about to end it because I think I just burned about 1,000 calories ranting. But it's fun to debate this. It's fun to see your comments. Kyoto, you could rent a nice place in Kyoto for 6 months, for crying out loud, for less. Yes. What should Japanese government do? Have you thought about moving back to the States? No, I have not. This is my home. My family's here. But I always have that option. One of the reasons I'm here is I wanted to check out that boat. During the summer, they make some stops here, and this is a beautiful park on the weekends. Not today though. They usually have some stands here. This is Monzen Nakacho, near Tsukishima, between there. And it's a beautiful area. You can see Tokyo Skytree above. You won't find any tourists here. This is all local. It's really beautiful during the cherry blossom season. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I think you're going to see this start to really boil, not just in Japan, but it feels like Japan is on the forefront of this because of the weak yen, because of over-tourism, because from the pandemic, from that time, you can't say the word on YouTube, from that time to now, they've gone from 0 to 60 like a million miles per hour. And it's kind of overwhelming in a country that still uses fax machines, and you still see people reading newspapers on the subway, which is kind of cool. Actually, you see a lot of people doing that. I wish I was one of those people. Where do you get a newspaper around here? It's hard for people here in Japan to change. It's not a diverse country. It's a country where people, in general, the left and the right, like in America, there's extremes. In Japan, everybody's kind of in the center, and the ideological thinking is not really, there's extremes here in Japan too, but it's very small compared to the majority of people that are really pretty much the same. You see like the left-leaning and the right-leaning television here in Japan, I can hardly tell the difference, but to Japanese, it's a pretty big difference to them. It's nothing like Fox News and MSNBC. But to make these kinds of decisions is really hard for a country that rules on consensus, meaning there's no one leader who does everything the way they want to do it. It's all about everybody debating it, coming together, and with a consensus, all moving forward together. You might not like it, but you have to get behind it. And that's one of the things that I love about Japan, and one of the things that frustrates me about Japan. But I live here, I picked it, I love it here, it's safe, I'm used to it. I can speak the language, even though people don't want to speak back to me sometimes, but it's my home. And you know, you take the good with the bad, because I can tell you a lot of things that are wrong about where I came from, and a lot of things that are wrong about every other country, just like you can. All right, I'm done. Write it in the comments. I'll see you in the next. Music, yeah, I know he was pretty nationalist, but again, in political worlds, everything shifts up and down, as you're going to see in Canada with the Conservatives coming back. Everything shifts in one direction and then it shifts back, and I believe that the world will shift back. Oh my brother, gosh, it's kind of messy in some countries, but here we are. Two-tier system. Let me know your thoughts below. See you, everybody. Mata ne.